Joining us now in a CNBC exclusive is the company's CEO, Steve MacMillan. He was also recently elected non-executive chair of Illumina's board of directors. Steve, it's good to have you this morning. And I mentioned COVID there. I know it was one of the things you discussed on the call as well. You obviously were a great beneficiary, given your leading PCR. You're a leading role in terms of COVID-19 testing assays. What are your expectations now for the company, given the endemic phase, so to speak, of the virus?
Yeah, David, I think when we came into the pandemic, our goals were simple. One, take care of our employees. Then quickly, we toggled and became one of the largest producers in the world of COVID tests when the world needed us. That generated, obviously, tremendous revenues as well as profits. But we said all through that, our real goal was to emerge as a much stronger company on the other end. And what you have right now is that COVID profit and revenues are rolling off. But sure enough, what you're seeing is the strengthening of the underlying business. So we just reported 18.4% organic growth. Now, to the question on the stock, right now, this is the analysts really recognizing that as you look to 2024, that extra COVID revenue and profits is going to really be basically done at this point, unless there's another surge, and we're fine with that.
Right. Now, one of the keys, of course, is you also brought in a lot of revenues and profits, and so you have, what, $2.8 billion in cash. How are you allocating capital at this point, given the loss of, so to speak, revenues from what testing had been, and sort of positioning the company for future growth?
Yeah, we're certainly getting that question because our balance sheet is so strong. And I think our key word here is patience. That because we've fundamentally strengthened the underlying growth of the company, and we do have a very healthy margin structure, we want to be very careful, and we're patient to use that cash. We still think there'll be buying opportunities at the appropriate point. We've done a number of deals, tuck-in acquisitions that are accelerating our growth. Frankly, we've boosted our R&D spend. But at the end of the day, what I've always learned is when you have a healthy company, then you can afford to be patient with that cash. I know there are some people who want us to go out and do a big deal or use that cash. We're quite happy. One of the things we have been doing is buying back our own shares, because we think that that's a great investment in something we know very well.
Steve, David at the top mentioned your role now at Illumina. Illumina is a company that wants to move into the clinical side of the business versus research. You're a diagnostics company. I'm wondering if there are synergies that we should start thinking about in terms of the two sort of combining forces.
I would not expect any synergies between the two companies. I think these are independent roles. The companies do have to be 5 minutes from each other, which is very convenient for me, particularly from a timing standpoint. But I think we're, kind of in adjacent areas. But my appointment on both companies should not be construed as bringing them together in any ways that we wouldn't otherwise potentially do. But nothing there.
OBGYN surgeries seem to be fairly resurgent, at least for this last reported quarter. You're a beneficiary of that. Is that something you expect to continue, or is it some sort of a surge that is going to die down because perhaps people were not getting things done during the pandemic?
David, there's certainly a little bit of catch up, I think, in procedural volume. But fundamentally, we keep growing these markets. Things like fibroids that continue to be underdiagnosed in women and undertreated in women. So we've got this magical formula, certainly within our surgical business right now, of both organic innovation combined with a couple of really nice tuck-in deals that we did during COVID that are accelerating our growth rate in that business and really turning it into almost a low double-digit grower here for quite a period of time.
Finally, Steve, you mentioned you think your stock is a good value. I'm just sort of curious as to give us a little bit more color around that. It's an important decision you make in terms of allocating capital. Why at this level buy back stock as opposed to perhaps putting the money towards other growth initiatives?
We have the luxury, David, of doing both. Right now we are continuing to invest during the COVID time. We did 6 acquisitions we feel really good about. We also did a fair amount of buybacks, and we continue to boost our R&D spend. So because we've transformed the capital structure of the company over the last 10 years from being highly levered to effectively being not levered at all, we're in a great position where we really can do and that's, I think, what gives us, great confidence. The core businesses are performing, the balance sheet's incredibly strong, and it gives us great confidence for where we're headed.
You disappointed that the stock's down 4% today?
I think it's a slight overreaction. What I really look at is you've been around this business for a long time, as have I, right? My first interview on CNBC was back with Mark Haynes years ago.
Oh, boy.
I will tell you this. I think the analysts are not as proactive in adjusting their models as they used to be. They're becoming so stretched. And what you really have, I think, are analysts who are becoming reporters. There's a couple of great analysts in our space. But for the most part, what we have is the wake-up call last night of, oh, wow, COVID revenue next year is not going to be as big as it was this year. Wow. That's shocking. We've kind of known that. I think it's just a catch-up. These things happen, and I think we'll continue right on from here.
I've got it. All right. Interesting take. I appreciate it, Steve, and appreciate your snapshot as well. Thank you. Nice to see you.